So there are a lot of different ways that you can get to Google Classroom. One is to just come up here in the address bar and type in classroom.google.com. If you're using your staff Chromebook or you're logged in to Chrome, like I'm not on a Chromebook, I'm on my PC, but you can see I'm logged into Chrome. I can come here and click on the waffle, the 3x3 grid that has all the Google apps, and I can look for the Classroom icon and click on it that way. So this is what Classroom looks like. If you've never been there before, it's not going to look like this at first because you're actually going to have to go through a couple steps. You're going to tell it that you're a teacher, and then it'll take you to this page, which will be blank. You won't have all these classes. From here, if you're just creating your first class ever, you're just going to press that button that says Create or Join a Class, and then you would click on the button to create a class. You just have to give it a name. You can actually ignore all of the other stuff. The only thing that's required here is a name, so I'm just going to call this one Test Run, and create. Give it a second, or more than a second. And then it's going to come up. It's going to give me, it's going to pick some default picture. We can fix all that stuff later. But just so you can see the overview, this is more or less what your kids are going to see too when they come in here. They wouldn't necessarily have this because we'll set it up so that they can't. But you can see these tabs across the top. So for us, the stream is where you would put any announcements in. So if there's just something that you want them to know, this is not where you would put in assignments. This is just an announcement that, you know, if you have a quiz or you have something coming up that you want them to know about, you would put that here. Anything that's going to show up here in the upcoming section is based on classwork that you have that might have a due date. So if we jump over to the classwork tab, this is where you can create assignments. Super easy. Just click on the create button. And you can see we have options. If I were going to attach a Google Doc that I had a worksheet or something that I wanted them to fill in, I'm just going to use that. If I want to create a quiz, I can create a Google Form quiz right from here. What's nice about this is that you can, if you're doing it from within Google Classroom, you can set the Google Form quiz to locked mode. And what I really like about that is if the kids are using their Chromebook, they can't go to any other tabs. I mean, I know in a situation where we're talking about remote teaching, it's kind of a moot point because, you know, just because their Chromebook is locked to a tab doesn't mean their phone is, or another computer in the house or whatever, but that is there for you as an option. Those are honestly the two that you're probably going to use the most. Material is just if you have handouts or things like that you want to post. So they have them, but you don't necessarily need them to turn them in. You would use that. Reuse post is if you have something from another class or last year or something like that. Topic is just kind of categorizing those things into units. We go over here to the People tab. This is where if you have a co-teacher, somebody, resource room teacher or TA, somebody that you want to have access to this so that they could actually also post announcements, assignments, whatever. We would do that in here by clicking the button here to invite another teacher. And this is where we can add students. Now, there are multiple ways to add students to a new Google Classroom. One of them is to click on the plus button, and then you don't need to know their emails. You don't need to know their usernames. You just need to know their name. So if I just start typing a name, you can see I get a list based on the directory for the district, and I would just need to click on the person that I wanted to invite and then start typing the next name. And when I'm done, I'm going to cancel out of this, but those students would show up in this list, and they're going to be kind of grayed out at first, and you're going to see that it says next to their name invited. That's telling you that they haven't actually joined your class yet, but you've added them to your roster. So that's one way you can do it. The other way you can do it is you could give them instructions and say, okay, go to classroom.google.com, tell it you're a student, because they're going to be asked to, click on that plus button to join a class and type in this code. So they could type in that code, and then they will automatically be joined in your class. Now, the other method, which up until recently wasn't really working but now is you could actually go to School Tool. Once you've created your class here, you need to create the Google Classroom first, give it a name, all that stuff. You can go to School Tool, pull up your roster for the class that you're working on, and I unfortunately can't show you because I don't have any classes rostered under my account. But at the top of the class roster, you're going to see a little G like Google button. And if you click on that, it's going to let you push your roster into Google Classroom. So it'll populate this whole list for you. So that's another option for you. Okay. And then finally, grades. This is where your grade books show up, so you can see any of the work that you graded and returned to students and all that stuff. It's all going to show up here. You actually can, going back to School Tool, in the grade book for a class, you can pull grades from Classroom now directly into School Tool also, rather than having to retype them. A couple of other things that you're going to want to do. I should make sure you saw where I did that. Before you start adding students and having them work, up here in the corner, there's this little gear, and if I click on it, it pulls up these class settings. So here's like, if I wanted to give it a new name, I could change the name of the class. If I wanted the class code to be something that was easier to type, so for instance, sometimes maybe it's a capital O, maybe it's a 0, maybe you don't know, they're not going to know. You can actually reset the code and change it so that it's something different, and you can keep doing that as many times as you want to until it's something that's easier to type. You can also disable the code if you want to, so that you don't get kids in your class that you weren't expecting, but I doubt that's going to happen. Here's the thing that I really wanted to show you though. You're definitely going to want to take a look at this under General where it says Stream. By default, it's set to students can post and comment. So what that means, if I X out of here for a second and I come back here, if I don't change that, that means that every kid in my class, when they come in, they're going to see this box too that says share something with your class. So they're going to be able to type in whatever they want to. They could post pictures, whatever. You're probably not going to want them to be able to do that. So you're probably going to want to come in here, click on that gear, and under Stream, you're probably going to want to change that to only teachers can post or comment. So that way the announcements in that stream are just coming from you. Other things that, you know, in the immediate short term are not a big deal, but someday you might be interested in Guardian summaries. This lets parents, if they want to give you an email address, this lets them get summaries. So if their students are missing work, haven't turned it in, whatever. One thing to note, because it does come up, is Guardian summaries do not include grades. So they'll never get an email saying like, hey, your kid got this on this assignment. But they will get emails saying this assignment was due, you know, the student hasn't turned it in, things like that. Okay? And then some grading stuff down here, which again, if you've used a grading program, it's all pretty self-explanatory. So since I changed that, I need to make sure I click Save. And I'm back here. Again, other last minute things, I might want to select a different theme, change my picture. You can see there's a lot of different stuff that I could do. So I might pick that one, select a theme. And really that's about it. It's super easy to use. If you have any questions on getting started or anything like that, please feel free to reach out to me. But again, it's designed to be pretty user-friendly. So that's Classroom.